Have a seat. First thing I was gonna do was, let's play a game. Guess which one's Mailyna? But that goes out the window. And there's programs for tonight too, right?
Yeah.
So you wanna say anything real quick before I ask you 1,000,001 questions?
Thank you for coming out and supporting AADP, and it really means a lot to all the donors and recipients.
Awesome. She was so front and backstage. She was like, I'm nervous. You're so not. And Mia,
Yes.
Anything you want to say to everybody that came out tonight?
Just want to echo what Mailyna said. Thank you all for being here. It means so much to us to see so many people supporting AADP. They are just an extended family to us, so I really appreciate seeing so many faces.
So, I honestly have literally 1,000,000,000 questions I want to ask you, but I'll ask kind of the ones that I think are really relevant to tonight and what we're here trying to do, through laughter and getting everybody together, which is kind of use actual experiences and people that are part of what we're trying to raise awareness about, right, to get the word out. So tell us, first of all, when was it that you were diagnosed? And then also, when did you find out that you found a matching donor?
Well, I was born with beta thalassemia, and that's when you can't make red blood cells on its own. And I had it for 12 years, or 11? 12. So it was a lifelong journey for me and my family, and it was really tough. But I had a lot of support in my family and my friends. They all understood that it wasn't easy, but they were understanding.
You're super strong. I didn't know her prior to tonight. I'm glad I'm meeting you. But even just in a moment, I wasn't there for everything that you described prior to tonight, but just sitting here with you, right? I can feel how strong you are. So that's really cool. How was it when you found out? Do you remember what you were doing that day or that moment when you found out that you had finally, found a matching donor?
Well, it was I didn't know really how I felt because I was feeling, how is this gonna affect me later on, or what they're thinking, who's giving it to me. But I was just nervous of the whole, what's gonna happen to my life when I'm doing the transplant, and that's the really big thing that impacted me.
Mm-hmm. So I was gonna ask Mia as well. She was like, we'll let Mailyna do all the talking, but I'm not gonna have you out here with a mic and one of my lovely chairs and not ask you something. Kind of the same question in regards to, do you remember what was the initial emotions or reactions for you as she claims that she's her mom, but I doubt it. She's her sister, of course. Because there's no way. They're about 2 years apart in age difference. But what was your emotion when you first knew that she had found a matching donor?
We were looking for a donor for about 1.5 years before we actually found somebody. And when we had heard that there was a potential match, I remember I was at work and I had gotten a phone call, and I had to walk away from my computer. I had to walk away and kind of sit in a conference room, and I think I just remember breaking down in tears because the potential of a match, I think it's millions, a couple thousand, the chances are so slim to find a donor match. And then the other part of it was there's a potential match, but would that person be willing to actually donate?
Yes.
So for me, it was, I was by myself at work, and it was a complete breakdown because there were so many things going through my mind at once. And then, like Mailyna had said, yes, we have a match, but we also had to go through chemo, and she was in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks, and there was no guarantee that it was going to work. So it was a gamble to put, our daughter through so much and really not know what the outcome would be. So it was just a catch, it was great and scary, and it was a crazy time in our lives for sure.
Mailyna, how do you feel hearing your mom kind of describe it like that?
Well, I feel that it's really good that she's talking about it, because my feelings about it are kind of, I really didn't know how I was feeling about it at first because I was just like, oh, I'm finally gonna be done having to do all these different things that normal kids that I knew didn't have to do. And when I found out, it was just really, I was frozen. I felt like I was frozen.
Frozen? You're gonna say Frozen, right? And you were gonna think of Let It Go. Me too. I'm glad you went through with that. She was like, and I'm like, say it. Frozen, Frozen, let it go. Okay, so, well, thank you both for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing. So, I want to bring out another friend right now. So, Mailyna is someone who can share about kind of being on the receiving end of the process that we're talking about as far as matching a patient and a donor. But I wanted to have someone come up and share also that can talk about the other spectrum, and that's our friend Dinesh. Hey, Dinesh. Woo. You guys don't have to stand. I'll stand. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Have you guys met each other before, by any chance? No. Okay, Dinesh. This is Mia and Mailyna. Nice to meet you, sir. So, of course, anything you want to say to everybody that came out tonight?
Hello, and you're doing a great job. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is my second time hosting, and I mean, last year was mind-blowing, and just to be invited back means a lot. And it's not about me right now, so don't do that. Don't. Because you know they're gonna type, Jin started talking about himself during the meaningful part, and that was whack. But let me ask you. So you were standing right there as they were sharing, right? So you're hearing, yeah, the receiving end of what you were a big part of. I mean, not directly with Mailyna, but just as a donor, right? Can you walk us through that side of the experience? Like, when did you become aware that you could be a part of it?
Well, my wife and I registered as a part of a donor drive, which was conducted at one of the Hindu temples in the Bay Area. I was clueless about the whole Marrow donation process and all that, but it was a common friend that introduced us and said, this is a great thing, you should do it, and you're the right demographic age and all that. So we went ahead and registered, but I wasn't sure what was in store at the time. And then we had to do some reading and all that. But I actually started reading much about the process when I got the call like 5 years later after I registered, and they said, you're a match for somebody, and would you like to donate? I'm like, perfect, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to do that. But that's the point I started reading about the processes, what is it involved and all that, and a lot of education at that point.
Do you remember that moment also of finding out that you had been matched up with someone that you could possibly be the person to donate to them? Do you remember what that initial reaction of yours was?
Oh, goosebumps, right? I mean, this is an opportunity to help out a fellow human being, so absolutely, great moment. But I actually had an interesting twist in my story. I even blogged about it, and I put up a AADP video as well, where I accepted to donate. I went ahead with the process of initial testing and all that. But then they figured out that I had high blood pressure, so they called it off. They actually said, you cannot donate. I mean, that's the worst thing to happen to me, so devastated about the whole thing. And then 3 months later, after I started taking medication and all that, the doctor reached out, and not the doctor, a person from NMDP reached out, and she said, are you still available? How's your BP and all that? And then I said, I'm still available, but what's the situation? I said, for a different recipient. And they said, no, it's the same recipient, but we couldn't find an alternate donor. So I was the only one that matched, and that moment was something for me. I was like,
So, but at that time, was the initial kind of issue with the blood pressure, was that kind of already at a better place?
yeah, so I had started taking medication, and that was during one of the drives, I suppose. But yeah, I started taking medication at that point, and my blood pressure was really normal, so I could go ahead with it. And particularly the process that I chose to donate, or I was asked to donate with, was the peripheral bloodstream stem cell donation.
Okay.
So it had to be done through the blood.
Yeah.
So my BP had to be normal.
So they gave us, a little bit of information about both of your stories. I was reading yours backstage, and I don't know if it was before or after, but there was something involving running a 10K, or running several 10Ks. So is that something that you were doing prior to this experience, or it was after you donated, you're like, I'm gonna go run some 10Ks now?
It had nothing to do with it, but it's something that my wife has been saying, you better stay fit, you got BP is high and stuff, you better start.
Oh, so I skipped a few sentences. So my bad. All I saw was 10K. I was like, yo, that's cool. This man donated and then ran a marathon? I've been wanting to run a marathon, so.
It wasn't like I donated and then I went and ran.
Okay. So, is that something that's on your goal list? Like, to run a marathon at some point?
Yeah, I ran my first half marathon last year, so
Sweet.
eventually I will get to the marathon.
That's cool. Definitely applause for that. So, I don't know how we're doing on time. I'm just gonna chat with them until we're good, right? We're good? That was, okay. Okay. Well, I do want to ask one or two more questions. Mailyna first. I mean, it would be kind of silly to ask, oh, was this life-changing? Because obviously it was, right? But maybe what I would want to rephrase the question to be is kind of, what would you say to someone who doesn't know much about like what we're talking about, but you know, is open to hearing about it? Like if you just had to stop a stranger on the street and just kind of in a short way, how would you express to them the importance of even just registering and the impact that it can have?
Like I would say that, you know, it's life-changing to another person. You may not know it until you are affected, and it can really, you know, you don't see the difference it can make unless you actually take the chance of applying and donating and being willing to take that chance and put yourself to be a donor.
Thank you. So you're saying like if they have any reservation, yeah. So I'm just gonna piggyback off of that. If they have any reservations to just let it, you were supposed to sing with me. If they have any reservations to just let it go. Yeah. And Dinesh, thank you for being an example of what we're trying to raise awareness about, to get people to go out, register. Thank you all so much. Let's all stand. A round of applause for all three of them. Thank you, Mia, for coming up and sharing. So right now, someone was supposed to run out and join me. Your favorite guy, the guy that came out at the top of the show. Where is he? Is he? Yeah.
Jonathan.
Come on. Yeah.
Jonathan's
here. Yeah, give it up for Mr. Jonathan. So we are, yes, there's an intermission on the way, but we have a few announcements to make first, so go ahead.
I have to steal your mic.
Go, Jonathan.
Okay.
Can't hear you.
We want to let's have a round for MC right here and our recipient and donor. This is it. This is the reason why we're here. Okay, we're here for the purpose of saving lives. Nothing else. You have to understand, he said he was the only donor. And in the minority, the color community, there's a reality that in the Caucasian community, there's a possibility that you will have 10 to 15 possible donors. So you have a choice. In the minority community, Hispanic, Black, Asian, African American, that person that is going to match you, the odds are, as of today, he's the only one. You don't have a choice. So we need more donors. Anyone here between 18 and 44, mixed race, KT, Japanese, Caucasian, hardest to match. Any mixed race, the hardest to match. If you are between 18 and 44, we're typing outside and during intermission, and we would love to have you become a donor, possible donor. I don't have the lights on, but how many of you are registered?
Raise your hands. Don't be fronting either.
Here, here, all right.
Because we can check
you
right
are
away.
heroes. Give yourself a hand. Fantastic. Anybody here between 18 and 44 who's not registered, become a hero. Please register tonight. We really appreciate it. So now for the support, many people support us, and we have a lot of donors. We have many ways for you